And I started to think to myself, everything has led me up to this point. I started reflecting on my life and I realized that the person who held me back the most was me. Now, you could easily blame other people. You could blame what happened to me when I was younger. You know, at this time in my life, I had just gotten kicked out of my dad's house, which, have I told you guys that story before? I actually can't remember the story of when I got kicked out of my dad's house.
Who's that?
When I got kicked out of my dad's house. I'll give you a little recap. So I'm 13 years old, and my dad wakes me up out of the bed, which there's his house, and then there's my mom.
Is his house and your mother's house?
It's two separate houses. Two separate houses. He has his own house, my mom has hers. This guy met his house. And he just starts shaking out the door. He says, "Get up, it's time to go to church." Now, I was so incredibly fed up. Because it's not just about how you're treating me. The bigger problem is how he's treating my siblings. So he brings me downstairs, and I felt so powerless at this time. But I decide I'm going to stand up. I tell him that one moment you're telling me to get up and get my coat, the next moment you're just telling me to go downstairs. And obviously, he's really mad about it. We go, and we're at the church. And my mom's there because she wants to watch my little sister's talent show. But for reasons I can't even remember, he tells her, "Keep it. He's your problem." In front of the entire congregation, he just disowned me right then and there. And have you ever had that feeling where everything just starts going black? Like you're out your body, you feel frozen. That's what's happening. And as he gets in his car and he's driving off and I'm going with my mom, it's kind of like a part of me thinks he's about to turn around and come back, but he doesn't. And that was the last time I ever saw him in person. Until a year later, when I'm inside this courtroom, and I have to go in there to testify because, obviously, I don't want my siblings going with him. We weren't pressing criminal charges, it was just civil. Because the whole criminal process took way too long, and so does civil, but that's a whole different story. And the judge takes me into her office and says, "Was it a slap or a fist?" That takes me back to when I was 12 years old, and I'm sitting on this black couch, and it's like the first hit, I thought it was just a mistake. I thought it was just mad because it's my little sister's birthday, and my mom's calling my phone because she wants to speak to her. And his wife, who I don't even remember if they were legally married or not, I just called him his wife, was saying to him, "Are you going to let him talk to her in my house?" The house was hers, actually. The house is owned by his wife. He lived in there. I didn't find that out until years later. He would always make me leave my phone inside the car for reasons he never told me. But this day, what were you saying?
That's weird.
Very. But this day, I needed it because I had to do a school project. And you see my mom is calling, and I guess to try and show that he's in control, he punched my eye. And to this day, I have a little scar under it. And the first time I thought it was just, oh, maybe he got frustrated, a mistake. You want to see him as a good dad. Because I'm 12, and naturally, children want to perceive their parents in a good way. But then the second time, it's like a switch went off. And I realized that at that moment, I went from this little 12-year-old who has all these hopes and ambitions and dreams in life, to now I made my entire life about about keeping my siblings. But back to that day when he kicked me out. As we're in the church and he's got the whole congregation out and everybody's screaming, trying to figure out what's going on because there's this whole huge argument, I started thinking about the fact that now I don't know what to do with myself. Because when I made my entire life about keeping them safe from him, and now I'm not there to protect them, it felt as if my purpose was completely gone. But after a while, my mom gets me into therapy because she realizes that, okay, just talking about this ain't really cutting it. And that's where I learned about things like journaling, becoming grateful for whatever you have. Even though I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, I got my mom. I got my uncles. I got my friends. Now in the moment, I couldn't see that because, you know how when you're mad, it's really hard to find something to be happy about? It was like that. But instead of just being mad, it's that I had this intense fury. Like I wanted him to really feel how I felt. And I started to think that everyone who said they cared really didn't. Because if your own dad makes you feel unlovable, it's kind of hard to think that this stranger or this therapist or this friend actually cares about you when he did. And it was only through those years of therapy and journaling and digging into myself was I able to realize that I do have a value, I do have purpose, I do have something to be happy and grateful for. And that's what got me into speaking to people. Of course, I enjoy getting paid to do this. Of course, I enjoy making a career and doing something I find fun. But the real point is helping others. And this is what I want to talk about today. Finding that love within yourself. Because you don't need to tell me a personal story, but I'm sure we've all had a friend, a relationship, a family member who was talking negatively. You got this business idea and they're like, Lawrence, is that really gonna work? You got this friend who always got something bad to say, they always got backhanded compliments. Like I have my aunt, who every time she sees my posts, my videos, she's like, you're really good for a 19-year-old. Good for a 19-year-old? What's that supposed to mean? Like, that's like saying somebody's good for, I can't even think of a good example of this. But you get the point I'm making. You need to learn how to have enough self-love in yourself that when other people are bringing that negative opinion, you just learn to block it out. You just, nope, not over here. I'll take constructive criticism, but bad-mouthing and trying to squash someone's dream, we're not doing that here. So what's some of the things y'all want to do? Like, what's a goal you have?
I want to get into pen.
Get into pen, right? Now, how are you going to do that? What kind of GPA?
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
When you say you have an aunt saying you're good for a 19-year-old, could you just think that she's complimenting you, but that's the way she expresses herself? She just, especially if she's the only person, or...
You think it's a generation thing?
Huh?
You saying it's like a generation thing?
She's 28.
No, because, a lot of people, that's the way they express themselves. She's saying you're good for a 19-year-old. I looked at that as a compliment. I'm 73. That's not necessarily the way I would express it, but depending on her age, her educational level, her communication skills, that may be what she means. That may be how she communicates. You know what I'm saying? Because I might say, you know, a good job on her head, which could be almost be the same thing. You understand? So she may be complimenting you, but she don't know how else to express it but that.
That is possible. As far as the age part goes, she's 28 with a high school degree.
A high school degree?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that she's not, doesn't have certain, I know people that are adults that are illiterate.
Well, it's not that the education level matters, it's that you mentioned it, so I'm addressing it in case of, because I have found that someone graduated from like, okay, in my personal career, since I'm working in degrees and stuff, versus people who have like a high school degree, versus people who didn't graduate, versus all different education levels, all different countries, all different locations. I find that there is similarities. That there are similarities that people who went to specific colleges communicate in certain ways because that's what they were like. Now, it's possible she could have meant that one as a compliment, but with the context of all the other things she said, I doubt it. Possible.
I mean, you got to care about how you come across when you talk to certain people. You got to care about how you like talk to certain people. Like, you can talk about this, but you can talk to some other things.
I can't hear you. Speak, bring your words out of your mouth. You're talking into yourself. Bring them out of your mouth.
I said you got to care about how you talk to people. Because, like, some people might take it different than how you, like, perceive, like, what they say.
Right.
Also, like, it wouldn't be, I mean, if you felt that way, wouldn't be appropriate to, like,
What you say? You can ask.
right, like,
What do you mean by that?
like, if you feel as though, like, what you're seeing, or what you're reading is coming across to you, and, like, that she's being rude, maybe just ask her, like, yes, and like, and maybe she could have told you the truth,
I had that.
See, I don't know who she is. I'm sitting in a different seat, you know what I'm saying? But when he said, you're doing good for 19 or older, I don't think it's a compliment.
yeah, I mean,
And because there are a lot of 19-year-olders that don't have the mindset that you have. They have not, young adults have not accomplished some of the things that you have accomplished at 19. But I believe some of your experiences is what placed you where you may be. Like you say, your mom did you a humongous favor. She got you counseling, got you out of certain trends and thoughts and moods and situations. And so, if you look at today's society, out here, we look out of this window, and numerous times out of the month, right here out of this window, we can see 19-year-olds flash mobbing each other. You know what I'm saying? So I think she might have been trying to give you a compliment, but like you said, because of some of the things she might have said in the past, you may not feel like that, but it did sound like a compliment to me.
It's possible that could have been a compliment. I'm referring to like all the contact I had of knowing her.
Yeah, but sometimes we don't have to forget, but we can forget, and then people step to another space in their life. She might be trying to get to another space in her life. And then, I'm here for you. What happened? Because, in order to heal, we have to forgive. Not necessarily forget, but forgive. You understand what I'm saying? So I think part of healing is forgiving. I know it's part of healing. Forgiving. Because we can't take what has happened to us through our whole life, particularly if it's things that are negative, because we never know when that can pull us back. So, in order to really free ourselves of some of the things that happen to us in life, we all have a story. Everybody's story is different. But I listen to your story and I look at you as a survivor. I look at myself as a survivor. I told my story to some people, but I told you my story.
we were gonna go on the whole tangent about it. Let me recircle back to the central figure. Now, earlier you mentioned to me that you started journaling, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a real great way. Because when I was like super stressed out and trying to deal with all that stuff with my dad, deal with all that stuff with my family, having to refine myself, journaling is going to help you so much with that. Because you're going to have a lot of things that are going to stress you out, whether it be as small and simple as, I got a math test tomorrow. How in the world am I going to prepare myself for that? In the grand scheme of life, that's a pretty small thing.
I mean, that's different. You could take notes, like, if you have no sadness, but I got to listen to it.
Yeah, and you see now that I got your mind thinking about it, you can find all these solutions.
Yeah, I do that. That's, you know, I journal, but I don't like write down what happened today or stuff like that. And I don't like write down stuff that happened. You know, so, I don't like write
Yep, you got a question?
About what you said about journaling. When I was in your first class, I had anger issues. Yeah. And there were really bad, you know, when I would get angry, I would say I would call people. And then when I started to go to therapy, you know, they created a safety plan for me. You know, she gave me a journal and told me to write about, you know, the stuff that I'm feeling or the stuff that I'm living out. Just like say if I can't talk to anyone or anyone that is that I can just put that all in the book. So I know when I'm thinking about it, I know what I'm thinking and I can write it and see it. And I was better. So now, I mean, I still do it because it's like, you know, so much stuff happens in one day, and then, you know, it's like if you don't talk about it, or if you don't write it down, all that stuff that you think about yesterday is gonna come in to the next day, and now say something happens today, and now you mix up the stuff that happened yesterday and the stuff that happened today, but all you need is to either talk to someone about it or to write it.
Exactly.
So that's what I do. I have journals and journal.
I'm proud that we, you know, our parents was able to put us in a space where we can, get some good for ourselves. I remember my mom said, I'm putting you in counseling not because you're crazy, so you won't go crazy. I remember as a child I said that, you know, because I wasn't raised by my biological mother. This is a guardian that I was raised by. But she told us, she put a lot of us in there, not just me, a lot of the children that she raised. It was always separate people from the household that I was in, you know, most of you know. But she got us counseling. For me, and I even grew my children up. Well, not my son, but my daughter, because I just thought counseling was something that was a normal thing. When she became innocent, I put her in an adolescent clinic just so she can talk to somebody, and so things wouldn't, you know, so things would click for her. Because you know, a lot of times children don't really tell their parents everything. You know, she told me a lot, but I don't think she was telling me everything. And, you know, the parents think their kids tell them everything. I think something's wrong with them as a child, or something back. But I put her in a space where she could, if she wanted to speak on something, she could, you know, so counseling is a good thing.
One thing that I learned down there is that I believe the number's around 60,000. Every day you're going to have around 60,000 thoughts, and the vast majority are the exact same thought from the day before. So when you write it out, you can take whatever anger, whatever frustration, whatever thoughts you have up here, and get them out, and look at it, and read it back to yourself, and think, is this a good idea to act on this? I might feel bad, but punching a hole into the wall is not a good idea.
I mean,
And that's all it is. found that journaling is one of the most effective. For everyone I've seen try it, it's going to help to at least some degree. Because once you have it out, and you're looking at it, and you're thinking, here's how I feel today. Why do I feel that? And then you take some time and you think, why do I feel this? And you can figure out the reason why. Maybe the reason why, I know this guy, he would always get super mad if you insulted his shoes. Like you said, oh, your shoes look cheap today. He ready to swing on you. I told him, write it down. Figure out why this is. Okay, why do I feel mad when people insult my shoes? I feel mad when they do this because it makes me feel as if I'm viewed as less important. Okay, why do you care so much about why people view you as important? Oh, I care about that because of how I was raised. Well, why were you raised that way? Oh, because my parents were raised that way. So a lot of times, it's up to us, unfortunately, to grow from what was inflicted upon us, even though we had no control of that. Were you raising your hand? Oh, okay. Because one thing I found for me was that I used to communicate in a very aggressive way. Like, I would always be so ready to just snap off of people. And through journaling, I realized the reason for that was because I felt afraid of being seen as vulnerable. Not vulnerable in a sense that I'm opening up about how I feel, but I was afraid of being vulnerable because every time I would show emotion when I was younger, someone would take advantage of that. And it led to me building up this wall where I wouldn't want people to know how I felt at all. If I was happy, I wouldn't show you that I was happy because when I was happy as a child, people would insult that. I'd always get put down for it. Especially when I was like maybe 7. I love to talk. Like, I love talking.
I think you still have that trait.
I do. But there was a period of my life where I boxed that away because I would be afraid of. I'll tell you a story on that. When I was 7, I had this uncle who. Oh, okay. Yes. When I was 7, I had this uncle who he would always just like make fun of me for the way my voice was. I had a way higher pitched voice. It was like up here. And he would always make fun of me. And it led me to talking less because I felt insecure in my own voice. And that led to for years and years and years. And I would have all these great ideas, but I was afraid to share it. Why? Because of what I went through when I was younger. But you don't have to let what happened in the past define the rest of your life. I met a lot of people who have actually gone to prison and they came out and they became pastors. Or they went and started a community organization. Or they did something to give back because, yes, what they did in the past happened. Yes, they served that term. But that did not have to define the rest of your life. So, I want you to think about something that you may have went through, even if it was really small, really big, whatever. You don't have to tell me what it is. And just remind yourself sometimes that it doesn't have to define the rest of your life. When I was younger, if I allowed myself to be defined by what my dad did and then me getting kicked out and all that other stuff, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be speaking in front of you. I'd probably be in prison. Because had I not learned to control my anger and slow down and realize, hey, Lawrence, we feel mad today, but let's not act on that. Let's slow down. Let's find some better ways to handle ourselves. And that's when I got into the gym. Okay? Nothing will motivate a man as much as heartbreak and anger. Get yourself a gym membership. It'll change your life. It sounds silly, but think about it. You ever seen a dude who get his heart broken, like his girlfriend cheat on him? He get a gym membership. You see him 3 months later, and he got muscles busting out the shirt.
Like TV shows are enemies.
That's real though.
Not enemies.
Nah, that's real though. That's real though. Like, I remember when my ex cheated on me. I was in that gym 3 hours a day. I put on 15 pounds of muscle in like a couple months. And I've seen this happen time and time and time again for people. Yeah?
That's funny. I call it the montage. I thought it is. When people get stressed or break up, one person go and does a montage. Now you both can do a montage. You know what a montage is in film? It's like you said, about 20 seconds in the film where they just zoom through everything. They was upset. They
Like
started
Rocky?
getting muscles. They was painting a house with their new girlfriend. Next thing you know, it's a baby at the door. You know, but it's a montage. So they update themselves. But you can even choose the montage and be the one that montage doing. Right?
Yeah.
So take your time, like you say in the gym was your montage. They used to show you, next thing you know, you back in the door, you see your ex, you like, right?
Yeah, she would, a couple months later, she started swiping up my page like, Lawrence, I miss you. I'm like, blah.
But here's the funny thing. Hopefully here's the good thing. In your montage, did you grow out of that anger and need to get her back by focusing on the gym and not?
Yeah, I was like, you know what, she cheated on me, that sucked, but guess what? I'm gonna go upgrade my whole lifestyle. Everything. I just did a full revamp. I took the TV off my wall.
You took the TV off your wall?
Yeah.
When I went through like a hard breakup, I was able to write about it. I feel like I wrote some of my best music.
Yes.
When I was going through like my love album was like my
So at the end of the montage, you had a gym?
Yes, I had.
You know what I mean? He had a suit.
Yeah. That heartbreak music.
Right. Yes,
Wait, you
I
on
wrote,
like Spotify?
yes, Spotify, Apple, Tidal, whatever, YouTube. I wrote a whole album. Yeah, like I wrote a whole album. That's probably one of my best albums too.
Yeah. I had that happen.
Hold on. I didn't mean to start.
No worries.
But
No
go
worries.
further because you're on a point. I think the point was healing
Yeah.
through forgiveness, therapy, and finding something else to do, finding something positive to put in place to be obsessed about or focus on.
Yeah, cause that
You got 10 minutes.
alright. Yeah, cause that anger is like all your emotions. Imagine it like wood and gasoline and all this stuff, right? Either you can let the fire burn you, or you can use that fire to make something. That might be taking iron and turning into steel. That might be cooking. That might be going to the gym. That might be starting a business. That might be studying more. I know a guy who, you ever met those people who are like academic powerhouses, like straight A's, they try and get into Harvard and Yale, 4.0 GPAs, that type of stuff. I know a guy like that, and I asked him, what makes you so obsessed with achieving this? His reason? His girlfriend cheated on him. A lot of dudes, they learn how to take that anger and put it into something productive. It's like gasoline. You got all,
The question, have you ever seen a person like I said at the end, it has to be not for revenge, because once you become, it's for revenge. If you do all that, get the car, the money, the jewels, and everything to get back at somebody, you still hurt, you become a super villain.
They learn how
How you
to.
say on Manga, that's the super villain. The boy that she ain't talked to, right? So you can go one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, he learned how to heal from it, and instead he took that and said, you know what? Let me actually get my life right for me now.
Right.
But the motivating factor originally was the anger and pain. But in the process, you start to realize that, hold up, I kind of like this thing right here. Let me stop being so mad.
Right. And sometimes, like, I feel like the best, teacher in life is like lessons. Like, lessons are blessings if you really look at it. And you learn so much from like things that happen in your life, and it can mold you into be somebody, a great person, or it could break you. Depending on the type of individual you are, or the mindset that you have, and let it break you. You know what I mean? So, but I think,
You say lessons are blessings if people took it that way. A lot of people take those lessons, see revenge, and come and act and try to hurt you.
right.
A while back I was thinking about it like this, right? So Batman and the Joker. Batman became Batman because his parents got killed in Nollywood. And he said, I'm gonna make sure nobody else had their parents killed in Nollywood. That was his motivation. He lost his parents, he wanted to save Gotham. Joker, his motivation is he does it for a love of the game. He doesn't really have a reason. Like he doesn't have a reason.
But you said the Joker is happy.
No, the society made the Joker.
His whole life is based around the parents. He's miserable.
We can have this. Don't start this conversation. We do not have that long.
I'm out of
We
this
do not
conversation.
have that long.
My point
Listen,
was.
bro. Listen.
Yeah.
I'm out of this.
Listen, bro.
Okay,
We got
my
to go
point
to
was, Batman trying to save Gotham.
You learn something.
You know,
I know the Joker is a happy person.
yeah, he do it for love of the game.
Right.
He get out of Arkham Asylum, he go right back to it.
What the love of what game? Chaos.
Yeah.
This is another game because he is what? Still screwed up.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, the point I was trying to get at with that was Batman, he took his pain and yeah, his life is kind of miserable. He can't go around and show his face. Yeah, he had a miserable life. But he took his pain and he's doing something good with it.
So he becomes a bad man.
Yeah, instead of Trump.
I told you, let's not start this. Come on.
Yeah, that analogy, okay. Let's go back to the simpler analogy of gasoline, right? You can put gasoline in your car and you start it and it drives you somewhere. It takes you to your goals. Or you could dump gasoline and it burns down a house. Same thing, same fuel, you just use it differently. So when you have an anger moment, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're like, man, oh my God, this test, this relationship, this person broke on me, my friend's hating on me, whatever happened. You can take that emotion, you take that fuel, and instead of letting it burn down your house, you put it in the car and you use it to drive you towards a positive direction. Now, another way I used that was when I decided I was going to get into speaking, I had a really big fear of people looking at me, like judging me. What are they going to think of me? What if they don't like what I'm saying? What if they making fun of me? I think that all the time. So the way I got over it is I would take my phone and I would go through Center City when it was really busy, and I would record myself speaking on the sidewalk. Like hundreds of people walking by me looking at me like, what is this kid talking about? And then they come back later and they like, he's still here? You ever seen those street preachers where they had the speakers on top of their car? Y'all never seen that?
Yeah, with the microphone.
Yeah, and they had a microphone, and you leave your house at 8 in the morning. You come back after school at 4 p.m., and he's still there.
There's a lot of guys that play around on the corners and stuff like that. But most of them play music. And like if they play a guitar or something, they have to play something for somebody to make a donation in it. But sometimes there's some playing music and someone singing, and they're still on the chorus instead of singing.
Yeah, I met a guy. His name's Will Ellsworth. He plays like a guitar. He's like a guy with dreadlocks.
Some of them very talented.
He really is. And then the concept is called exposure therapy. Basically, if you have something you're afraid of and you just expose yourself to it over a long enough span of time, you'll realize it's not really that bad. Like spiders. If you're afraid of spiders, go home. Or just be in the same room with one. Like imagine there's a spider right there on that wall and I'm all the way over here. The spider can't hurt me. So on day one, the spider's over there. Day two, you get a little bit closer, and eventually you start holding it and you realize it's not that bad.
That's like you saying, I'm not scared of a king cobra snake or a rattlesnake. I want you to hold it.
I'm not, okay, that, you're taking a little too far there. You're taking a little too far there.
I know.
Let's say it's snakes, right? Non-venomous, non-life-threatening snakes. You're not about to go hold an anaconda. You're about to go hold a little garden snake. It can't kill you. But you're scared of snakes, so you make it bigger than what it really is. When it came down to the fear of public speaking, or the fear of people judging me, it's really not as bad as you think. But I only figured that out by getting a little closer, and then people started to hear what I was saying, and they would stop. And in my head, I'm thinking they're judging me. But no, after I turn off the camera, they're like, man, I love that. You need to post that somewhere. And then I did it. And one thing led to another, and now this is my career. Then I went out, got me a nice little website, made some business cards, and yeah, all because I was able to figure out what was that's holding me back. Then how can I take this and put it in a format where people can get the value and they can use the skills and learn all the hard stuff in an easy way, and people will pay for it. People will pay to figure out what you know that they don't currently know that can benefit them. It's the entire concept of value. So, the stuff I teach, if you apply it and then you teach it to other people, it makes the entire community better. Because you have a lot of people who don't know how to handle that anger and frustration. If you don't want to write it, get to a gym membership. Okay? Put that anger into the weights. Okay? You know, you don't need to allow the emotion to control you. It's valid to feel it. I promote that. You need to feel your emotions and be aware of them. However, you cannot allow the emotions to control you. Because how many times you woke up and said, I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like going to school. I don't feel like doing this test. Now, let's say you allow that feeling to stop it. No, that's valid. I appreciate the honesty. But let's say you allow this feeling of, I don't feel like going to school to control you. Let's say you don't go. For 2 months, what's going to happen?
I mean, you're gonna get choices.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna get truancy. Yeah, you're gonna fail, you're gonna get expelled, you're gonna get truancy, right? Now, that means that, let's say you do this on a job, you're getting fired. When I used to work at McDonald's, if you ain't show up to your shift on time, guess what happened? Somebody else showed up to your shift, and you're not coming back. But, let's say you feel like, man, I want to achieve this goal. I want to get into Penn. I want to get my dream body. I want to get this job. I want to achieve something. But I don't feel like it. I don't feel like studying. I don't feel like putting in an application. I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like writing out my emotions. I don't feel like it. It's okay to not feel like it, but when the results that you wanted aren't there, you gotta say, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't do it.
Accountability.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're accountable to yourself.
2 minutes.
Yeah. Alright. Thank you. And at the end of the day, you gotta be accountable to yourself. Because I have a whiteboard in my room. And every morning I write out what exactly I need to do. Okay, Lawrence, you gotta post 5 videos. You gotta send 20 emails. You gotta put 5 videos on your Instagram, 5 on your TikTok, 5 on your YouTube. Then you gotta send your emails. Then you gotta do this meeting at this time. You gotta do this speech at this time. You gotta be on the train here. You gotta go to sleep at this time. Like, I have it all written down on a whiteboard in my room. And at the end of the night, I look at this whiteboard, and I gotta be honest, I'm the one who wrote it down. I gotta be accountable to myself. Well, Lawrence, did you post 5 videos? No, but you gotta understand, I didn't feel like it. But you ain't doing it. But did you do it? The job don't care if you feel like showing up or not. Did you show up? Because at the end of the day, if you want to achieve something, and this is your goal, you're the one who decided, I want to get into Penn, I want to start this business, I want to get this job, I want to achieve something. Did you do the work though? No, but I didn't feel like it. The goal don't care if you feel like it or not. Did you do it? If you don't show up to that job, you're fired. If you don't show up to school, you're expelled. If you don't show up for you, who else is supposed to show up for you? Because it's your life. You're the one who has to go out there and live it. And it's so many people, so many resources, so many opportunities that are right there if you will ask or if you'll show up. I've gotten so many, I'm going to close out with this right. One of the best things that happened to me is, as far as public speaking, I tell people this all the time if they ever decide they want to get into it. You're not going to become successful overnight. This is a long game. It's going to be a whole lot of nights when I was up until 2 in the morning behind my laptop sending emails. And then I go to sleep. And then I got school. And then I'm right on that laptop sending more emails at the end of the day. There's this thing I got where normally it costs $400 a month. $480. But I met the guy who runs the company. He had a conversation with me about my life, why I decided to become a public speaker. He gave it to me for free for the rest of my life. All because he saw that this kid is actually putting in the work. He looked on my Instagram and he was like, so how long have you been doing this? I'm like, 3 years. And he's like, oh, really? He scrolled to my page, video, every day. I was putting out 5 of these a day for 2 years straight. And then he came along, he saw this, he was like, let me bless you. That goal gonna come a whole lot quicker when you show up. Because time gonna pass anyway. 10 years is 10 years. But is you showing up? Is you showing up for yourself? And on that note, thank you all for listening.